Definitely more skateboarding in the future, but not any more Tony Hawk games. I mean, it's been, I kind of been, having had that product going on since I graduated high school, it's been, pretty much a part of my entire life in a way. So in that sense, no, I'm pretty much done there, but I'm definitely interested in exploring more skateboarding stuff in the future. But in the meantime, I'm working on a lot of other projects right now, both documentaries and fiction. So yeah, it's a lot that's coming up. Obviously, COVID has slowed things down, but luckily, it hasn't been too bad for me. I know some people have had it way worse than I have. So, I feel really lucky that we kind of managed to premiere the film at that Mammoth Film Festival, and then eventually release it on video on demand on August 18th, and kind of have it, be pretty successful in its own right. I mean, it did, and coinciding with the game too. So that was really cool that we kind of that like I said, when I was like 13, nobody cared about Tony Hawk games at that time. They were kind of dead. And now, like 10 years later, they're back and like in such a grand, on such a big level that I kind of feel like that one guy that really liked that band before they became big. I kind of feel like that at the moment, Yeah.
And honestly, from my perspective, I honestly feel like the movie, because like you said, it came out around the same time as the game, but the movie's been on such, it's been in works for such a long time. Like,
right.
The fact that the remake came out at the same time, I feel like that was so under wraps until they announced the trailer. Because we, like, for example, I would always keep my ear out for Tony Hawk interviews here and there to see anything he had to say about like a new game. Because me, I was always a person that just loved the games. I never actually got super technical into skateboarding. Probably the most I could do was probably an ollie. Because for me the soundtrack was also being a musician, it was just something that I followed. You know what I'm saying? Just like to the T. But whenever I would hear things, it was always like just like little kind of like loose pieces of information where he would say, "Oh yeah, there's something coming up. Yeah, we're in talks right now. We're seeing what we're gonna do." And it was like little mobile games that would come out. So in my mind, I was like, "Yeah, Tony Hawk is pretty like the main series will probably never like get any more. I think it's probably just something that like came and went." And then once the remake got announced, along with the release of the movie, in my eyes, and maybe you could speak, some more truth to this. In my eyes, I personally felt like the movie, like the development of it, because I was following for such a long time, was probably what sparked the remakes to happen. I don't know if you agree.
Well, I hope so. I mean, obviously, it was kind of funny that obviously we knew of the game before it was announced, because obviously we did. I mean, it's not a pure coincidence that it came out. Obviously, we did time it, but at the time, it kind of felt like, yeah, I guess the whole. How do I put this? I guess the whole thing about skateboarding games still being, in a sense, popular in the way that, they had two indie game developers make skateboarding games for Steam. One was called Session, another one was called Skater XL. And they became popular in their own right. And they had like 5 developers behind them. That kind of showed that there's a demand for skateboarding games. Skate 4 in that sense, of course, but Tony Hawk as well. And then we had a movie come out. And to have people anticipate that movie, that was a really cool thing as well. And in a way, sure, I do feel like it definitely played a part in getting that game off the ground. But it was also, a lot of it was definitely like, there's just so much fanfare. And, every single year, or I mean, there's articles all the times on Tony Hawk games. Whenever there's a Reddit like post about Tony Hawk games, I mean, people just go crazy about the nostalgia and stuff like that. So it was kind of waiting to happen in a sense, but to have it happen like that, like having such a like incredible game come out and just like have people relive the memories. I mean, that just has never happened before, I think, with any game of any kind, because Tony Hawk Pro Skater was such a like worldwide, like phenomenon, really. Like, there's been good remakes, like the Crash Bandicoot remakes, which is kind of what inspired the Tony Hawk remakes, because they were so successful that they were like, okay, they were successful. But I think Vicarious Visions did those games too, and they did Tony Hawk games, and they were like, and they didn't have the same engine. So if we get this company, they can kind of work off the same, the same formula that they did. I think that was some real great here, and they did, so.
Definitely. I was gonna say, on the topic of nostalgia, you guys, there was a section where you guys cover the 720 game, the Skate or Die game,
yeah,
Top Skater. I've played Top Skater because that's definitely just been a staple in many arcades. So I've played that, but I've never played Skate or Die, and I've never played 720. Have you ever got your hands on those games or?
I have. No, so there was an arcade in Portland, Oregon when I was there for a festival. This was actually not related to Tony Hawk video game movie. And they had both 720 and Skate or Die, so I had to play them both. Obviously, but I've seen those games, and you can probably complete the whole game in like 15 minutes. So yes, I did play both. I have not played Top Skater though. That's the only one I never played, which is weird because that's actually a really good game too. It looks fun, and also, from what I understand, and maybe you can confirm this, it was sort of the base for one of my other favorite games of all time, Crazy Taxi.
I think so, right? Because
I heard rumors that they use the same engine and same layout. And when I looked at Top Skater, I was like, wow, they have the same kind of like character selection menu as in Crazy Taxi. So
yeah, I heard that too somewhere for sure. I don't know, for sure or not, but I definitely heard that it was definitely kind of like, they're definitely bouncing off each other in terms of influence. Yeah. But like another thing was, you guys start the movie kind of like with everyone breaking down how skating was like a very trendy thing in the 70s, and come early 80s, it's more of like a underground thing. They talk about Stacy Proutz's Bones Brigade and all that. And, kind of how things came up. I honestly personally appreciate that because I personally did not know about that. Me, I'm a 90s baby. So, I was born in, Tony Hawk Pro Skater was already off the ground by the time I was born. So, it was like, I was born into this thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, I remember going to a Boom Boom Huck Jam festival, and there they premiered a trailer. Excuse me. It was like a playable demo of Tony Hawk's Underground. And,
wow.
Yeah, they picked two people out of the crowd, and they had it was when the PS2 had that like face scanner thing.
Right. Yeah.
They made them into custom skaters, and they let them play like a game of graffiti right there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you ever did you ever skate, or did you ever like come up skating, or was it just kind of like a thing where you were just really attracted to the game series?
No, I did skate. It was kind of thing that I think my first ever, how do I put this? So I think the first ever interaction I had with skateboarding was watching the X Games. So I did get into skateboarding. I think I was around 6. I was never real that good though. I think the most technical thing I could ever do was probably kickflip. I was never really better than that. And I tried a couple times. I think especially when I was like 13, I was really into skateboarding. And that's kind of when it was, it wasn't really that popular as well. So it was a good time to be into it because, there weren't that many people at skate parks. So, you'd always meet and greet the same kind of people. You make a lot of good friends along the way. But yeah, I love skateboarding. I follow skateboarding like crazy. I'm kind of like a baseball geek, those people that read all the statistics, stuff like that. But with skateboarding, I don't really follow the competition scene though all that much. I watch a lot of video parts, and I'm totally into it. I did skate, but I'm not that great anymore. I did actually skate for, it was funny. I was editing a TV show, and they were going to shoot a scene where they needed a skateboarder. So I actually agreed to play him because they had no one else. So I did, that's the latest time I was skateboarding. And I think I did manage to land a kickflip on camera. So I'm happy, but I do hope they include that. I don't think they will, but yeah.
That's nice, man. Hell yeah. So if it's okay with you, I would like to maybe dive deep into the series. Maybe we can talk about some of the games if that's all right.
Yeah. Sure, dude. Absolutely.
So I definitely came across a little bit before we started this. I came across it looked like it was called the THPS podcast. And you were talking about how you started playing the games around Pro Skater 3. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that. I would say that's kind of the same with me. I actually kind of missed Pro Skater 1 and 2, just because I was so young at the time. I literally remember Pro Skater 2. I think we had it. I was like maybe 4 or 5 when we had it. My sister was the person that played that the most. I guess my question here is, out of all the games, like what would you say is your favorite game from the series? Definitely
Tony Hawk's Underground, actually. That's totally my favorite. it's just real cool how they kind of, you know, reinvented the game and had a story mode. I mean, which is good. Like, I like the story in that game. There was even a time where I think I wrote like a fan screenplay, which was like, you know, a live action adaptation. It was essentially the same thing, but like instead of the helicopter in Hawaii, there was something more realistic.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the movie Grind.
I haven't known.
You know, well, I kind of have the problem with it. It's like, you know, the skaters kind of go from like nobodies to like performing like 900s, and it's kind of, I do have a problem with it. Like, there's no real fact. I like the movie, but it's just that whole, it just becomes too cheesy. But Underground's for sure my favorite. Also, I played that game like crazy online on a PS2. It was too much fun. And you know, when I was playing online, I mean, there were maybe 50 people at most active. So, you know, a lot of, I mean, I don't keep in touch with any, maybe one or two of them from those days, but those were fun days. So that's the game I played the most, and it's definitely my favorite. I think also it has, actually, it's not my favorite soundtrack, but it's maybe my third favorite soundtrack of them all.
Yeah, you know, I think Underground. It's funny. The other day, I was going on a jog, and I was just listening to like all like the hip hop tracks from the Underground playlist. I don't know if you remember a song called "Prototype" by it was a rapper called Anacron.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. For me, it's like that game was it was great because it introduced like the story mode elements that I feel like, because it's funny, you know, like I look at the movie and from a back end perspective, you know, a lot of the skaters and the Nevertsoft team started saying that they saw, you know, sort of kind of declines in sales after Pro Skate 4. From a fan perspective, though, for me, you know, and of course this is definitely just because this is when I was coming up. It's like Underground was that one where it's like that was crazy to me, and then Underground 2 was crazier because, you know, at the time Viva La Band was so big on MTV, and so was Jackass. And you know, Underground 2 was just like perfect for its time. Like the story thing is kind of like what I feel like was kind of not lacking, because Proving Ground and Project 8 had story modes, but they weren't as focused stories as they were in Underground to American Wasteland. I don't know if you agree to that, but like, would you say you're more of a you kind of prefer the story elements of the games versus like just the straight goals, or were you more of like a...
No, I do. I really do. I especially when it was good, and it was really good in American Wasteland. It was good in Underground. Underground 2, it was more an excuse to have Bam Margera in the game, like, and his Jackass team. It was fun though. It was definitely fun as well. I do kind of, especially playing a game and kind of getting those texts and like Mike V going to jail. It's definitely fun, but like, but I think it was kind of, I don't know. I think the games at the time kind of developed that way, that simulators and like more realistic sims became popular. Like, you know, a lot of the, like, I don't know, like racing games like Grid and stuff like that. They were really about like you kind of develop and you become gradually better. And that's kind of why they introduced those elements in Product 8, I guess, where you, like you said, it's not really that focused. Like, yes, your goal is to kind of be on the top 8, but there's like no setbacks. There's like no, like, you know, there's no like dramatic turn point like in Underground where Eric steals all your footage.
Exactly.
There's nothing like that in that game. And same with Proving Ground, I think, is even less focused because that one has like separate storylines. And I don't know if you remember Proving Ground, you do meet Eric Sparrow. And full praise for that. I mean, that was super fun to finally get to beat his ass too. But like, you know, it's I do have a problem with that as well. It's just not focused enough for me. I do like it kind of straight. I'm not really, you know, I was playing Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil is also one of my favorite games of all time, like the whole franchise. I was playing Resident Evil 7, and I was like, and I finished the main story. I was like, I'm really excited to play the DLC. I played 10 minutes of DLC. I couldn't play anything more. I'm not sure what it's with me in side missions and DLC. I just can't take it. I just don't feel as motivated to go through that, you know?
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, you know, it's crazy because I had the games on GameCube. And,
me too, man. I love the GameCube.
Yeah, so then maybe you know where I'm going with this. Like, I never had that online access. I never actually got a PS2 until way later. Like way later, until like PS2 wasn't even a thing anymore. People were already playing PS3, you know? And, so, you know, when I had Proving Ground and Underground 2 and American Wasteland, it was like no online play. So it was just me just diving as deep as I could into the game and like whatever the game offered. And so I remember I got Project 8 and Proving Ground on the Wii. And the thing about those was those were like the PS2 ports, and Proving Ground and Project 8. Yeah. And so like Proving Ground and Project 8 on the Wii and